the younger heads will not have the insight of the system.
Right? By any means necessary, whatever we have to do in order to drag ourselves out of
this situation,
this mental slavery, then that's what we'll have to do.
Really thinking about the Montgomery bus boycott and how, we have a blueprint there for how it is possible to use our buying power to force change.
He'll never go before tall, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And that means to deal with the important matters first.
Greetings and the warmest of welcomes to this week's ORT.
Today we're looking at what we want to achieve from the uprising since George Floyd was murdered. With our usual panelists, Ebony Harmony, Kindred Spirit is going to join us shortly, and Brother S, and I'm your host, Kush. There is agreement that there is a different form of lens currently focusing on the issues concerning what it means to be an African ascendant, or otherwise known as Black. And therefore, we have to ask one of the obvious questions is, what do we want to get out of it? And that's going to be the topic for today. Before that, we have a quiz. And I know that I'm with the sharpest brains when it comes to matters related to Black people. So a few tough ones, a few easy ones, but just to get us in the mood. First question, really quite straightforward one. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, 80% of the land is underfarmed due to a Western obsession with wanting to extract minerals. If the land was farmed to its potential, how many people could the land feed? Pick one of the following answers. 12.5 million, 25 million, or 2 billion? 12.5 million, 25 billion, or 25 million, or 2 billion?
I'm going to go for 25 million.
Okay.
I'm tempted to go for the higher end, the 2 billion.
You're tempted or you are?
Let's do that. Why not?
Okay. Congo is reliant on food imports, but could potentially feed 2 billion people if the land was farmed to its full potential. Next question. Negro yam, or nigger yam in Jamaica, is known by what name in Ghana? Negro yam, or nigger yam in Jamaica, is known by what name in Ghana? It begins with a P.
Oh, no, yeah.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yes, Punayam. Yes. All right. Who sung Sex on the Beach, the 2011 slow jam hit? Who sung Sex on the Beach, the 2011 slow jam hit?
R. Kelly?
That is it. Okay. The Whitehead Brothers, although none of them had Whiteheads, they were called the Whitehead Brothers. Bonus points for any one of you who can sing the chorus.
In a way.
Question 4. A documentary on Dr. Sebi was said to be being made by a popular rapper, but he was gunned down on the 31st of March 2019 in the parking lot of his store, Marathon Clothing, in South Los Angeles. Who was the rapper?
Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah. Yes. The French Revolution not only wanted freedom for French, it also wanted to abolish slavery in the French colonies. True or false?
False.
True.
It was true. And the person who was leading that at the time was Maximilien Robespierre.
I was about to say that.
I should have had that as a bonus question, shouldn't I? You know? Don't worry, I'm speaking to the research department right now. I hope they're making notes on this. Okay. So, question, bit of a maths one here. not only a maths one, but also a bit of a little puzzle. You have a basket containing 10 apples. You have 10 friends who each desire an apple. You give each of your friends one apple. Now all of your friends have one apple each, yet there is an apple remaining in the basket.
Can you repeat that, please?
You have a basket containing 10 apples. You have 10 friends who each desire an apple. You give each of your friends one apple. Now all of your friends have one apple, yet there is an apple remaining in the basket.
So what's the question?
Well, if everyone has an apple, and you have 10 friends, how can you have one left in the basket?
Didn't count how many was in the basket properly.
There was 10 apples. You have a basket containing 10. Okay,
So you haven't picked your one.
Well, it's 10 apples to 10 friends.
Or maybe 9 of the friends ate the apple and 1 didn't.
No. The answer is one of your friends already had an apple.
Question.
Which Hamilton was supported by his boss in standing up to the police of George Floyd? Which Hamilton was supported by his boss in standing up for the police murder of George Floyd?
Lewis.
Yes. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff says he fully supports Lewis Hamilton speaking out against racism and has described the 6-time world champion as an ambassador for the sport. Right. Over to the question now. What we want to achieve from the uprising?
Yes. Again, commonplace. And again, it's been brought to the forefront with the unfortunate and untimely death of George Floyd. All of these things have become more amplified and more focal now. Right? Being brought into where we're now saying, what, it took somebody to die before you realize that actually you've been undercutting us in the workplace. You've been undercutting us financially. You've been undercutting us in housing.
Health.
In health.
Mortgage selling.
Anything, in promotion of us achieving anything, we've been undercut. And so, when we think about this emotional backpack that we have inherited, that weighs us heavily down, and that which our counterparts have very seldom over the years come and said to us, how you manage that bag? You want a hand? No. They don't, right? And they just leave.
The funniest thing about, well, not the funniest thing, the thing that comes to mind a few weeks ago, when we were speaking, you say you just want to be able to have some days where you don't have to worry about what your color is going to do to you on that day, how it's going to change part of your journey.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, we have a right and a duty and a responsibility to also worry about that for our children, for those that are to come and our children's children, right?
Yeah.
Is it we've bought into a lie when we say to them, son, daughter, king, prince, princess, you can be anything you want.
Yeah.
Have we been spinning this lie? And are we continuing to perpetuate this lie when really we ought to dump that and be far more realistic and pragmatic with our children, perhaps? Brother Kush.
Yes, brother.
In relation to that which we were discussing just now, how do you feel about that then in terms of how do we progress? What is it that we're going to demand for that's going to change things for the better for my people?
What I noticed at the protest was that the most radical people was the black people, was the white people. They were talking about, you really teaching black education, racism building Britain. And talking about structural stuff. So that was very empowering for me. It was very, I don't know if comforting is the right word, but it led me thinking that if somebody on some level is getting it. So in terms of the outcomes, maybe them will carry through some of those outcomes. Who knows? Maybe they know people. Because let's face it, we don't know many MPs. But if you have 10,000 white people together, they're probably closer to an MP relationally than you or I. And maybe even their voice within their communities can reach them MPs and then the MPs. Because I'm not one who's trying to endorse the voting system. I'm just talking about different ways in which change can come, depending on what the change is. So maybe now there's a stronger voice in terms of trying to address the things that have perpetuated this lie for so long.
Yeah. See, I don't mind that. I welcome my counterparts. I welcome everybody to support our cause, but we have to lead it. I'm uncomfortable about it being led by anybody else but us.
Well,
I don't want to boast for me.
This is the challenge now. So if you watch the little thing when we do, you will see in there that I was talking about the lack of representation of people over 35, and especially Black people. And we have a problem now because we have people who are in their early 50s who think that they've been saying this for so long, no, them can't bother. Rather than being reinvigorated and getting out there. Because the younger heads will not have the insight of the system by themselves. They really need the older heads to tell them, because it shifted. Don't forget, this is the continuous shift, from overt oppression to an insidious type of oppression. And this is why some of us who have knowledge within certain realms from our professional life, we need to bring it to bear in our communities to help them understand the complexities of how white supremacist actions work now. So what would be your proverb summing up where you are?
Okay, well, my proverb would be, he'll never go before taught.
Okay.
And that means to deal with the important matters first. So my thoughts are there are so many things that need to change. There needs to be so many things that are different. The outcome needs to be quite radical with regards to changes for the Black community. And it's Black men, Black women, Black children. And I think some of the core issues, certainly one of the core issues that need to happen is, let's look at the education system first. I think there needs to be a huge overhaul of that. And at the pinnacle of that needs to be a Black historian, somebody who is knowledgeable, who has a broad knowledge. And that doesn't mean that we can, we shouldn't tap into the local community and so forth, but it needs to be led by a Black academic.
Okay. I'm just going to stop you there so everybody can just do them checking with them proverb. And then we can come back to you and for a deeper break now. Kindred. Yes, Kindred, do you have a proverb and a position?
I don't have a proverb this time. I haven't been doing very well on my proverbs recently, but no, I haven't got a proverb that would
summarize. Okay. Brother S.
Yes. Mine is quite simple in terms of being on the back of how I was feeling a couple of weeks ago with the rawness of the issues that were taking place in America and resonating around the world. And that was about the uprising being who don't hear must feel.
Oh.
This is ORT.
The uprising being who don't hear must feel. That pertains to enough is enough. We're done the talking, and now the gloves are off. And right, by any means necessary, whatever we have to do in order to drag ourselves out of
this situation.
It's mental slavery, then that's what we'll have to do, right? I think, sometimes you have to be prepared to do what's necessary in order to ensure that you can continue to live.
Yeah.
And that's not something that is only for me and mine. Everybody deserves to have the right to be able to live and think about dreaming and aspiring to whatever they want to become.
Definitely.
So
I'm just gonna, okay, good. I'm gonna ask you just to stick a pin there, and then I'll give my position and proverb, and then it's over to you, Ebony, to follow on from where you were making your point about how we should be going forward. So my proverb is things that come up to bump, meaning that this is going to be a test in terms of us achieving what you've just spoken of, Brother S. It's going to be a test on many levels. But yes, that's my proverb. Things that come up to bump. Ebony.
Okay. As I said, and I think Brother S touched on that yourself also, Kush-I, is that there are a myriad of things that need to be addressed, changed, etc. I mean, if we think about intersectionality to begin with, where things overlap and where discrimination happens on top of discrimination. For example, if you're disabled, there's discrimination there, but if you're black and disabled, there's a further discrimination. There's a gender, and if you're black and you're a woman, it's further discrimination and so forth. So it's very deep. Yeah. There are so many things, and I think we need to start from I'm tempted to say from the core out, but that's not necessarily right. But I was touching on the education system, and it certainly needs to happen there, from primary level going right the way out. It needs to start from the young, there needs to be input at the younger generation as well, so they grow with that knowledge. And I'm talking about black children, white children, Indian children. The nation needs to know the truth about black people. Yeah. I mean, and it could be done in such a way, it needs to be done in such a way that it actually intertwines or improves the education system as it stays at the moment. If we think about sport, perhaps in school, young black children are encouraged and revered for being great runners and so forth, and they're championed for that, and to some extent are led to believe that that's the be-all and end-all. When that needs to end, that isn't true, and that's not to say to discourage them. If that's their talent, then that's great. But how about giving some black history within that as well? And for example, if you look at Jack Johnson, who in 1903, I think he was the first heavyweight black boxing champion. He was also an inventor. He invented the wrench, didn't he, in 1922, and it was patented. We don't know that. I mean, I save to add as well that it was still, despite that massive achievement, because we still use that wrench now, okay, they still found room to associate that with his blackness, and it was termed the monkey wrench, wasn't it? We know that term. So there's the connection. Black man can, But the point I'm trying to make is that yes, you can be an academic, you can be an athlete, but you can also be an inventor. You can also be a doctor. You can do other things, and but we're imprisoning currently. The education system imprisons the minds of children on every level, be it maths, be it as I said, sports and so forth. Because the details or the facts and the truth of about black history is not there. So throughout their growth and development, that section of their identity, that section of the truth about their community's identity, that section of the truth about their cultural identity, it's a huge lie, and it diminishes them as an individual. It diminishes their culture, their people, and so forth. And as we see, we've all lived it throughout our whole existence as black people. Yeah, the truth it's not being shared, it's not being taught, and it holds us back to extent. It certainly makes things a lot difficult for us. And I think that would make a huge difference. And in terms, because once the truth is out, once it's part of the curriculum, once it's part of people's daily life, you can still hold your prejudice if you like, but the truth is there to counteract that. Do you understand? And it's not just in the secular sense where some of us know and most of us know, but the truth isn't out there because it isn't promoted. And, we're not exalted and we're not promoted and we're not encouraged to do better things or continue on from, where our ancestors did and, our Black enslaved people. I mean, important. Yes, I get annoyed when it's Black people are just associated with slavery because we're more than that. But I wouldn't say take it from the curriculum.
So
Black slaves were also doctors and lawyers and so forth and what have you.
So in a word or two, what is it you're saying that you want the change to be?
One of the changes needs to be at the core of the education system as well. That's one.
Okay.
There are so many changes, but it needs to happen from children, from the point of children of growth and development, primary years, nursery even.
So you want changes to the education system?
The education system, yes.
Okay.
And that's one of many.
Yeah, we've got about 10 minutes left, so we're going to move through quickly on this.
Yes, go ahead.
Brother S?
Yes. On the back of what Sister Ebony was saying, I think we need to be mindful. I agree with her that that's one of the many. And I think we need to be mindful that what we don't try and do is I don't know, put a bandage on the wound too quickly, right? Or indeed use the wrong remedy or the wrong cure for the ill, yes? If somebody burned their arm, a second-degree burn, right? It might be, somebody might come up with the idea that, well, if we just cover it, at least until we get it to the right place where we can perform whatever operational.
So are you saying changing the education system is a band-aid on a gash?
I'm saying we need to be mindful that that's not the only thing that we do in the hope that the full cure, right? Okay. If you put a band-aid on a burn, it might cover the burn, but eventually you're going to need to take the band-aid off. And because it's a burn, what will it do? It will lift all the skin. Okay, so
I don't think Ebony was an exhaustive list. I think that's you were saying that's just one of the changes.
And I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
I think also,
that was recommended.
As well as that, there are issues around police reform, but more than that, and I think the one that we have the most power over is our money, right? We have the Buy Black Week, for instance, this week. Yeah, I think it's poignant that actually we understand then the significance and the power of our money, and that if we withdraw it, right, because of what we generate, but what we don't put back into our communities, we know that means that we're always beholden to the people who receive our money and take it to run their communities.
Yeah,
we should be able to do the same thing with our money to develop, establish, and maintain our own financial community where we can loan out, where we can build up our own economic community, as well as being able to provide our own for our own.
Yeah, but why haven't we been able to do that, do you think? It don't take George Floyd death for us to realize that we need to spend more money with our community.
Well, again, there's a myriad of reasons for why that's not happened. And it's not to say that it hasn't been attempted, right? On a small scale, in my lifetime, I've known that groups that have come up with some great ideas. Unfortunately, too often, and I'm not saying this is always the case, but too often, and this is what's polarized, is that it seems to implode. There seems to be some parties within the body that have are exposed to have a different agenda. And then when it falls down, it's like a complete deflation. Everybody around, like, we can't afford to do that again, because all it did was, it built up our hopes and then they all fell down.
Hope also dies with the collapse of the effort.
Yes.
Shame. Okay. Kindred,
Yeah,
What do you want to say on this, even if you don't have a proverb?
lots of things really. I'm interested in the global momentum that is carrying this thing. That's interesting to me, and I think that I am interested and maybe a little bit concerned that we don't become so embroiled in the fight that we lose any sense of what outcome we are trying to achieve. So not, that the fight doesn't consume us. Having said that, I'm with Brother S in terms of the strength of the economic stance that is being advocated here. I think that I was really thinking about the Montgomery bus boycott and how we have a blueprint there for how it is possible to use our buying power to force change. And I think that we have to go one step further than the bus boycott went, because once the reforms went through and they desegregated the bus system, we got back on the bus. And what we have to do this time is bring the bus company down completely and rebuild our own that serves our own needs. So we have to be willing to go one step further. And that will involve some sacrifice and some discipline and some difficult decisions along the way, but that has to be the end game. We're not looking to be accommodated. We are looking to take back control of our own destiny.
Okay. Ebony, any further points you want to make?
Yeah, I think knowledge is power. Yeah, and I agree with both kindreds, the kindred spirit and also Brother S, and I agree with you both. I think we have to be purposeful in what we're doing, and protest is definitely needed. But I don't think we can change minds without educating minds and providing the empowerment through that education. Okay. I think we know, on the whole, many of us know our history and so forth, but we need that history to feed us purposefully moving forward. The power of the media is such that when the protests still, when they end, just like the bus protest, people get back on the bus. People keep going into pack and so forth and what have you. Some people won't be prepared to make these sacrifices unless we give them or make sure that we're educated some more in regards to historically, but also currently, what it really means, that it's more than a protest. And some people need to be literally, given an understanding of the step-by-step, what it means that if you discontinue spending it outside of the community, what that means for the community.
We have a couple of minutes left, so I'm just, if you could wrap it up so I could just hear from the other two before. No, if any final statement on that.
Knowledge is power, is what I'm saying. I think we need to be also investing in sharing the knowledge to strengthen the purpose for moving forward of the community. Because many of us, a good percentage of us, will get back on the bus, so to speak.
All right, thank you. Brother S?
Yes, I believe we need to take a multi-pronged approach. There are a number of things that are going to be required to be done.
You got 15 seconds?
Yeah, in order for us to feel as if we're making some progress. Not just for the short term, but after me dead and gone.
All right, good, thank you. Kindred?
Yeah, I've got in my head, it's been there for a little while, it was Amos Wilson, I believe, who said that knowledge is useless unless it can be practically applied. So I think that kind of brings together the point that Brother S was making and that Ebony was making, that we need the knowledge in order to make the decisions that we need to make and then act on them.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you all for your time, and thank you to all the listeners, and we look forward to your comments.
Blessings, people.
Yeah, man. Walk good.
All right.
Stay safe, family.
Okay. Peace.
Included below are related links to this discussion. Please share, comment, and subscribe. And remember, talk the thing.